whatever you do, you have to own it. You have to own your role, you have to own your gifts, and you have to be trust yourself that you know what you're talking about. If you've studied, if you've got it, in the end, my work will prove itself. And I don't have to go fight with people and getting, a pissing match about what I know and what I don't know. When you're talking with somebody and you're connecting, they're going to see it.
Welcome to Business Technicalities. And if you can't guess by the common last names here, we actually have a MSP run by a couple. Now, me and my wife could never make this work, so this is fascinating to me. And then we also are joined by Sean, who says he's my butter half. And we'll go with that.
Well, I figured if we have a couple on, then I think we're like kind of a couple.
Yeah.
So,
We're a
and
couple
you
when it comes to doing this.
and I do like butter, and you say you're my butter half. I just thought that was fitting for the conversation.
So
We'll go with
cute.
that.
It
You're not
is
wearing a
cute, right?
crazy shirt
It's,
today.
So cute.
I wore a good shirt. This is my boomstick.
Oh, it's my boomstick. Okay.
This is my boomstick. Come on, man. It's like a cult classic. Anyway, enough about me and you and stupidity. Let's move on to people that know things that are important. So we, as you said, we have a married couple on. I'm going to start with the person in charge. Mary, thank you for joining us.
Nice to join you guys. Happy that you know what? I'm gonna relish this moment because usually whenever we're out, everybody always defaults to Brian and they're like, "Oh, you know what you're talking about." And I'm the marketing girl. So thank you for giving me a little bit of the bone and
You're,
acknowledgement.
you're welcome. Oh, Brian, you're here. Good having you too, Brian.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. It's always what Tom. It's a real pleasure to connect with you, out of both of you. Yeah.
So some background here. I met Brian at Evolve or Jumpstart rather,
Right.
in the middle of nowhere where there was a lot of cornfields, out of Nebraska, which there are a lot of cornfields. That's legitimate. Like that's no joke. There's like miles. Children of the Corn was definitely filmed there, and that's a scary freaking Malachi movie.
Is that where all the like UFO sightings are spotted?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those yes,
The
Cornfield?
crop circles.
Yeah.
yes.
We found out Sean was the one out there with like a rope putting them down, but that's fine though.
Well, I'm an artist also on the side. Thank
I
you,
know.
Brian,
Yep.
thank you
Yeah.
for the shameless plug. I really appreciate that.
That's what I'm there for.
At least something. So anyway, met you there. Haven't had a chance to meet Mary in person yet, but it came to my attention as we spoke about things. The amount. Well, first off, you guys have a very successful MSP. You're doing very well there, and then you start talking about your wife a lot more involved in the business, which I thought was a pretty big deal because we meet plenty of MSPs that have a significant other involved, but usually you don't see them as entrenched in the business as the other half is. And so when I told Tom about this, he was like, yes, this would be an awesome episode to have because we want to try to get some tidbits on people like you all and how you make it work and how you decide on responsibilities and how you actually made it work until today, even because I know you guys have a lot of stuff you're doing with a move and everything coming up as well. So yeah, that's what this is about. So we have some questions, but before we get started, I would love to, you mentioned, I'd like to talk about what your roles are in the company. And again, I'll start with the boss, Mary, please, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm technically the boss. I am the CEO of the company, which has happened in this last year. Um, I became 51% stakeholder in the company, which
Nice.
felt really good because when you're out there and you're talking to people and you're like, yeah, I work with my husband, they're like, it's amazing to see the automatic, like, oh, you do the bookkeeping or, I'm like, so I'm like, sure. Okay. Watch me. Just don't acknowledge me, underestimate me, and I'll slit your throat while you're not watching. That's kind of my take in it. So I'm not like Brian knows. He knows my stump speech. But that is
sleep
my
protected
role.
at night. I sleep protected at night.
Yeah.
Your background is in what?
Oh gosh. I went to college for photography. So I have an associate's in liberal arts. That's what I wanted to do was to work for National Geographic. And then I got into wedding photography, children photography, whatever. Brian had started the company at that point, and I was like, I know my ambition and I know my drive. And I was like, and Brian was very supportive. So he's like, you can do what you want. But I was like, I know if I go do what I want, we're gonna be like two. Look at him. He's like schmoozing somebody.
He's blowing
on the
kisses
side.
to people. It's
I
amazing.
know. I feel like I'm like, who's out there? Should I
Right?
go there? Don't you look at that?
I'm kind of jealous. Yeah. Anyway,
So
so
my
you don't have a
brother.
background. I'm sorry, Brian.
No,
Adults are talking. So you don't have a background
not in
in.
tech.
technology. Nope, nothing. Um, Then I've always helped. Like I started off as a significant other doing the
Yep.
bookkeeping, helping in the background, answering the phone, scheduling everything. Like I was the bookkeeper, the accountant, I was the dispatcher, I was the account manager, client experiment, everything aside from the tech. All right.
Okay. But
That's
now
what I
you're in
did.
tech though. But now you're doing some tech stuff, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't fix anything. Let me be very clear. Don't let me touch your computer because I will break it. All right. But
Sure.
cybersecurity, I know. I know that. I'm entrenched in that. I know how to architect. Like that is my journey in our business is really helping drive the cybersecurity train, I guess. And then coming up with different ways. Like the benefit I think of not having a background in tech and coming into it is I see a lot of things that people don't because they've been in it for so long.
Hmm.
So a
Mhm.
lot of stupid things I see, and that's where people are like, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, well, yes, you can, and I'll find a way. And then guess what? They find a way. And I'm like, this is brilliant. So I've got things up my sleeves right now I'm working on, and it's going to come to pass. And we're getting closer and closer. And Brian is very, I think the biggest thing is he's supportive of my role. And that's been a journey in and of itself of us adapting to who we are in the business.
So are you getting a certification done in cyber?
I am. I'm right now working on my SISM.
Awesome.
Yep.
I think this is an interesting dynamic as well because me and Sean have talked a lot about sometimes entrepreneurs who come in and where the entrepreneur starts the company, but then realizes they can grow it only to so far before they need to
Right.
bring in someone else. And sometimes it's someone else needs to switch to be the CEO of the company and the entrepreneur steps back. Even that's something I did in my business. I hired a full-time, I'm much more of a fingers on keyboard person. So I hired a full-time person essentially to run my company, and it has accelerated the growth of my company a lot. And it's
Right.
kind of interesting because Brian was, understood that and then surrendered control of the company essentially to use. It sounds like, and that the business acumen is such a important aspect of it that
Mhm.
the technical stuff's so cool, but at some point you need a lot of business sense to make the company go forward, to get things done, to develop all those processes that need to be followed by all the people who put their fingers on the keyboards
Yeah.
and make
Absolutely.
things happen.
So,
Yep.
so I guess,
Well,
Brian, what do you do? How about that? I guess we'll talk about you a little bit.
so I founded the company in 2004, and I wanted to address something Tom said. So I'm the chief revenue officer now in the business, and so what I do in the company is I look for different revenue streams and I look for different markets and different opportunities to grow our company. I thrive myself in the unknown, not in the known. So I like uncertainty. I thrive in uncertainty. So I like the adventure of that so much and the pushing into new boundaries.
That's
So
awesome.
one of the things that Tom, you brought this up is, and I was sharing with Mary for years, I felt like I kept telling her, it's like, I really need somebody that's a business partner that can help me because I knew there was areas I was lacking. And I was always the technical person. And I was not a great technical person. I was a great salesperson. And so I would find myself immensely frustrated doing technical because I wasn't good at it. So it would take me 3 times so long to complete a job. I would stay with it and complete it. And many long hours I would do it. However, there I would go, I would tell her at night, I'd come home like so frustrated. And I would just like, Mary, I need a technical person, but I knew I needed a strong business partner. At the time, Mary didn't see herself as that. And it wasn't until 18, 19, 20, Mary began to evolve and her true natural gifts and abilities to begin to surface. And she could change at a much more rapid pace than I could because I was entrenched in a way of doing things and I didn't know how to let go because I had to be, in order for us to survive as a family, I created a monster that was not scalable and everything centered on me. And so what happened was she was able to go, we need to push in this direction when new things came up, and was able to do things more fluidly. Well, it's hard for me to change because seeing how much I had to carry. And so her running the company has really been a real blessing and a gift for us because her ability to adjust and change.
Mhm.
And my new role, we've got the engineers now. We've got 6 great engineers working for us. We have really I feel like I'd say all of our guys are like really great rock stars. I'd say most, they're all great rock stars in their own abilities. We have like some folks that Mary has really harnessed their ability for them to be who they are. And so that's taken a lot of pressure off me so I can be my sales role in order to generate new revenue. And Mary can be the architect of the company where she wants things to go. It's really great too, because we naturally come to the same conclusion from a different perspective. And I'll say, I was thinking about this. And she goes like, oh yeah, I was thinking about the same thing too. We just didn't talk to each other about it, but she's been processing it. And she's an internal processor while I'm an external processor. So I will voice what she's already been working through, or she'll come to me when she's done, come to where she wants to go to, say, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, oh, I've been thinking about that too as well. So we have a really great relationship of like give and take and knowing our roles and so forth like that. So it took us a little bit to get there, mainly because I had to learn how to let go because it sat on me so long as like husband, provider, like for years it sat on me. So now it's sitting on us as a team, and we're so much better now as a team than when it was just like the Brian show, so to speak. And it's because, anyways.
So basically what I heard you say is Mary is the hero of the show.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm okay with that.
That's what I heard.
Okay
That's
with
what
that.
I heard. And really, you would be nowhere. Basically, you're like, you complete me kind of conversation. You had
Pretty
me at
much,
hello.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal, Sean. I would have married her after 3 weeks, and I told her that, and she's like, we're gonna wait on that for a minute. We're gonna put you on pause.
We're gonna simmer.
So
Good. So
yeah,
apparently she is definitely the smarter of the two. I knew this from the
Carefully
beginning.
planned things.
Yeah, like she's like, hey, I don't even know if I like you, dude. I gotta get like
We gotta vet this a little bit.
yeah, like it takes a little bit. So maybe she should be part of the pre-qualification of your clients as well as a CRO. You probably use her in that too, because
We do. There's that intuition. Like,
yeah.
Well,
not
he comes up
everybody
with an
needs to
idea
come
to
on
create a
board.
lot of revenue, and you're like, that may not be a good long-term idea.
That's an expensive revenue,
Yeah.
yes.
expensive profit.
So
Yeah.
that's good. That leads us into, we always ask like, what is your currency? What motivates you guys?
Actually, we started the company because I wanted to fund missions and I wanted to give. And so our current currency is just really the kingdom of God and funding missions and things like that, be able to give. And if you can't give when you have nothing, you won't give when you have something. And so we always gave even when we didn't have anything at all. And so we have the opportunity to be able to give more. And I love being able to see people who have need and be able to meet that. The other part of it is when we did business, when we started and now is like meeting people that I've never have met before, finding them in problem areas and be able to be the answer for what they're looking for. So some of these people have, like, for example, will have deep emotional needs and be able to sit down and be able to pray with them and listen to them, other than the finding different methods of encouragement for them. Others, they're frustrated in their company and having a fresh set of eyes, not IT related, and go, hey, I think if you do this, it'll make your company better. And they'll go, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Or just, it's more of I look at this, our company is more of a ministry being able to help people and be there for people and love on people. And that's what it's always been for me. So completely.
Perfect. So I'm assuming that the speech that Arlen Sorensen gave about being a servant leader is applicable to you.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, because he stressed that when we were at Jumpstart too. Completely giving. That's awesome. Okay. Mary, I don't know how you beat that actually. He just totally upstaged everything.
Well, I'm not as nice. Like he's like that's very deep and like
It
meaningful what
was.
he said. Mine's like I want to prove myself and others wrong. Like that is a deep thing for me. Where I came from, what I've grown up in, having, this literally like when I walk in a room and everywhere I go, the last conference I went to, I put marketing girl on there because I was just tired of it. Like I don't I want to prove to myself that I am more than that. Because when you've been put into a hole your whole life and they're like, oh, you're the secretary. Oh, that's nice. Or like, this is
Yeah.
what you're good for. I'm like, up yours, buddy. I'm going to rule the world. So his is very nice and I agree with that. And that is like us, that is a deep motivation for us because we do love giving. But what keeps me going through all the hardship is I'm like, I'm going to prove it wrong. And I want to open doors for other people. I want others to see this industry that is full of opportunity and walk into it without hesitation and not feeling, because honestly, I get tired of like the woman card. Okay.
Right.
I'm like, I hate women being like, well, I'm a woman. I'm like, well, no freaking doubt. You're a woman. Right. But, how about you do the job? How about you earn your credit, earn your merit? And I want to prove like I will hold my own on the cybersecurity stage because I know what I'm talking about. And as a business owner and as a leader and as a visionary, I'm going to be able to do that. So, yeah, mine's a proving thing, probably more barbaric and
Not at all. I like that.
No, and I think it's important. And one of the things that when you have, and you look at tech and you see that it's 99% male dominated and things like that, there's a hesitant because I have several daughters and none of them went into tech because they go, I'd be the only one in the class. Or, even some of my engineers, like they're like, oh yeah, my Cisco class, there was 48 people and if a girl stayed for about a week and then she left because this guy was kind of not nice to her. And it makes it harder once you start seeing, oh, this person made it, I can do it too. You feel that like less comfortable. You're not the alienated one in the
yeah,
room. And that's it's taking a long time in tech because it's been in other industries as well. It's tech is particularly problematic. I actually heard Brian say the guys we have are rock stars. So I'll assume of the technicians you have, you don't have any that are female at the moment right now.
not yet.
Not yet. And it's a challenge. It's not a dig at all. It's the fact that I know how challenges there's so
Yep.
few of them
We have our
out
first
there.
one coming on August 1st.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
It's just
excited
many of
about
them
that.
don't join because they don't see
Yeah.
enough examples of it. Their friend didn't go because, with my daughter, what did her and her friends do? They like, oh, hey, they're all going to go to school for the similar things because you want to go to school with your friends. It's a career they like. And that can be a challenge. But you don't know anyone else as an example in that industry.
Yep.
Like I'd be the only one in the classroom.
Yep. And they need
So,
to see it. Like
yeah.
Right.
that is a deep thing for me. And the more I get into this, like I'm doing interviews, leading things, mentoring people. Like I do that quietly. Like I don't advertise that, but there's 3 young women that I'm mentoring in cybersecurity.
That's
And
awesome.
why? And it's different areas, but when we go to the schools to like this past year, we went to the local high schools and we spoke to the classes and there was one female. And I was like,
Mm.
but she connected. And I was like, why? And it's because they don't see it. If you can't see examples, you will never
Mm.
connect. And you have to connect with whoever is in leadership. You have to connect with what you see in the industry to be like, I want that. And there's tons of women out there. My goal is just to get us enough together so that we can be very visible in the mainstream so that we can exact global change.
And
I love that.
The other thing too, you see a lot of women in the channel in channel positions, but actually,
Sales.
yeah, but leaders of MSPs, you're not really seeing that. So
Not
this
many.
is,
Not many.
yeah,
Well, I don't, and I mean it's a cultural thing, right, from the past.
Yep.
Just like nursing, we can flip it and say nursing at one point was predominantly women, and
Yeah.
then I mean I don't know what the percentages are today. I'd be curious to know what's the percentage of men in nursing fields now. Obviously, it's much higher than it was, but is it even 50-50 yet? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, right? But that's the same thing, and there's a maturation effect that takes place,
Yep.
right? Most from when I was in high school, the AV crew was all dudes mostly, and one girl maybe, right? It'd be like 15 guys, one woman,
Yeah.
and that was it. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's what I saw. And most AV guys became MSPs or IT guys of some sort.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's their or they became the Dungeon and Dragons master leader of the
Yep.
show.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Anime producers.
Yes. I love how Tom said, well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes.
I was going to circle back a little bit though. The mentoring, I think, is really awesome that you're doing that, because it's tricky too, because they're not sure. They don't know. They don't have someone standing next to them to ask when they have to navigate a tricky situation. Like you had mentioned, where you just stuck marketing on there because you didn't want to answer the question. But that is, there's some challenges, and there's points where, do I confront this and become the leader in the room, or I'm just here to get something done. I don't have time to deal with the fact that you think that I'm just the bookkeeper. I'm not going to address it. So I had no idea if my daughter were to ask me about that situation. I'd be like, I don't know, like, be bold, honey. And I would be supportive, but I don't have the direct context you have of having been there and understand how to navigate that and how to push it forward. It's one of
Yeah.
those,
So
it can be
what advice do
interesting.
you have? What advice do you have, Mary, that you give when
Yeah,
you
that'd be great.
For
Yeah.
well, for women, I mean, if you are a leader, I've gone through gamuts, right? Like the slash spiel was my last. I was like, let's try this option. Let's put this hat on and see how it rolls. Being just the marketing girl didn't change anything. Like still, when I talk to people, they get it. They start to recognize, oh, there is a credibility there. There is a knowledge. There's a depth. I think, I mean, for me, you just can't. I've started to view it. It got me really mad for a while, just to be honest with you, because I was like, what? Like, what would you ask that to a guy? Like, would you dare? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would sit down. They'd be like, any guy I was around, they'd say, "Oh, does she work for you?" And I was like, "No." Or the guy would be like, "No, she owns her own MSP." And they're like, "What? Oh, you mean you do the marketing?" And I was like, "I mean, technically, I'm involved in it, but I do run the business." So it's been funny. I used to get really mad and sassy. I've got a really bad attitude streak in me. Brian knows it. So I've got to like reel it in. So now I'm like, I have the honor to prove people wrong, right?
Yep.
Like I have the honor to expand their vision and what they see and how they connect with roles. And we all do it. It's not just a woman thing. Like we all do it in different areas. I don't care whether it's race, religion, anything, we do it.
Yep.
That is human nature. So I'm like, I get the opportunity at this point to dispel a myth and to broaden someone's vision. So you just have to own it. Whatever you do, you have to own it. You have to own your
Sure.
role, you have to own your gifts, and you have to trust yourself that you know what you're talking about. If you've studied, if you've got it, in the end, my work will prove itself. And I don't have to go fight with people and getting, a pissing match about what I know and what I don't know. When you're talking with somebody and you're connecting, they're going to see it. So for women, I think you just got to be who you are. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to be a guy. Don't try to act like, who you are is who you are. And what you know is always going to make room for you.
Awesome.
The other thing too is I found that we're always looking for people to elevate us up to their platform and like to run off someone else's credentials. And so what's happened here the last couple of years is like and really Mary has created her own platform and her own stage. And so because of that, people in the industry look at it, and then based on what she's created and what she's envisioned, now they're going, hey, we really like what you're saying. We want you to be a part of what we're doing. And because it's making them look at our industry in a different perspective. So,
yep, I agree with that. Like, well, and you have children also, and these are
yeah.
lessons, these are life lessons. Like my daughters, I mean, I tell them, like, you got to be bold at whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Yep.
it is, and you have to remove the stigma of whatever. I don't care. Like, again, because I was a single father, so talk about a stigma. Like, we're not supposed to be single fathers. We're supposed to be
Yeah.
single mothers, and fathers are
Yeah.
supposed to go make the money and pay the support and show up for baseball games or whatever you do, or swim meets, or
Yep.
that's No, I mean, I even have 100% education custody of my youngest daughter, so I make all decisions on all the education.
Yep.
So that's something you just have to buy. You have to, I think you said it best, you have to own it. You have to go
Yep.
in, do it, own it, and learn all about it to become the
Yep.
expert.
And if you fail, get back up and keep going. Like
My God, how many times
I,
if you really tally up the
right?
amount of failures you have, starting from when you learned how to ride a bicycle, even how many times you have to fail to actually ride the bike? I mean, hell, I
Yep.
remember crashing very bad and getting stitches like 3 times before I could ride a bike.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a slow learner. I mean,
And
it's
go
okay.
like I
Yeah.
got a lot of
Tom,
rebuff
Tom,
about
you got that on video. He just said
Yeah.
that. You
Oh,
just got
yeah.
Sean. And, yeah.
Sadly, I
He's
gave
very
Brian
open
a
about it.
layup. I gave Brian a layup, and he said that's the best he could do. Like,
Because I'm being nice, Sean. I know it's something that you don't have that ability to do, but like that's what I'm.
well, it
you know.
sounds really nice. What you said right now was just really nice sounding, Brian. That's like that was like an oxymoron in the creation of the sentence. A big question we ask for people is about products or services that don't exist today that should in our space. Like,
oh,
right.
I'm ready. Locked and loaded, brother.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then you go.
Yeah, things that tick me off in this industry is passwords. Like, why in the world do we need passwords at this point? We've gone to the moon and back, right? We've put Jeb Webb telescope. We've seen galaxies thousands of light years away, but we still need to come up with stupid passwords.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there needs to be, we still need multiple verification, multi-factor verification, whatever. But I think the use of passwords is very antiquated, and it is one of my goals to create a different, and not biometric. Okay, I'm not talking about like read my eye, read my voice, like look at my face. There's another. I have ideas. I just need people to make them because
Yeah.
I don't know how
Okay.
to do it.
Have you looked at the new FIDO offering that they have for the passkeys and everything else? The FIDO
No.
Alliance. Yeah, that's the latest one. Is what they've
Is
got a
that like the
solution.
scan?
Well, no, it's FIDO passkeys, and it's the
Yeah.
problem is it's
Yeah.
similar because FIDO did come up with FIDO U2 auth, and the YubiKey made it kind of famous.
Yeah.
But they have a new standard they just ratified this year and called passkeys. Something it's worth
Mhm.
looking into, but you're right. There's a lot of challenges on it, and it does offer a very solid ideas. You're right. Password we've been to the moon and back, like you said, and we're still dealing with that, and it
Yeah.
is a big challenge in our industry.
Yeah. I mean, globally, like what are the biggest reasons why people get hacked? Password.
People.
Yeah. And it's
People.
like we're not going to change like hundreds, thousands of years of ingrained habit in
Yeah.
humanity. So we've got to think outside of that. Like, how can we? Yeah, I have to fidget. I was like, I
But you
just
know what
realized
though?
that was failing right
It's
now.
funny you're saying that too, because like, so my mother, she's 82, right? And she's I was sitting there with her the other day. She's watching her favorite program, QVC, because everybody watches at that age QVC. Like
Yes.
it's like the Jerry Lewis telethon kind of. It's like a
Hi,
marathon,
everything. Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
and so
Just wait.
and
It'll
so
come back
like
around.
she goes, "Is that a good deal?" And they're showing this Hewlett Packard laptop, right? And I'm like, I don't know. And they don't talk about the specs, right? They don't really. They're like, look at the beautiful screen and how nice it is, because they know they're talking to my mother. She's like, it
Looks
looks so nice. I'm like, it's a laptop. They all look relatively the same, really, at this point, you know. And the best part was they were talking about Microsoft and this whatever this is they launched for security, right? And they're like, well, and you're completely secure because Microsoft. I was like, no. I said that's the first mistake. You don't.
shut up.
My
We
mother's
need
like,
to
oh,
sue QVC for
right. That's
misappropriation
what
of
I
information.
said. My mother was like, oh, they protected. I was like, no, nobody can. I
Yeah.
said, oh my goodness, no, there's no surefire thing in saying, yeah, you're
Mm-mm.
absolutely protected, 100% protected. None of that. You can't say that. I said, that's like being at your house and saying, because I locked the door, there's no way somebody can get in. I was
Yeah.
like, no, there's windows, there's whatever, there's always something. And she was like, oh, and she was like, then she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, okay, fine, let's start. It's a pretty screen, Mom. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And then it came, and then for an extra $100, you got the printer. And I was like, nobody wants a printer. Nobody wants a printer anymore.
No.
Oh, it was horrible. So yeah, I do agree though about the password thing. I hate passwords.
It's everybody's, nightmare ticket of another password reset, or
Yes,
after a 3-day
Yeah.
weekend, nobody knows how to log in anymore.
No.
right.
And when you're in doctor's offices, like the logistics of it. So anybody under compliance or governance, when they're going in, the amount of stuff that they have to do just to get into their machine. Like when I'm watching doctors, they have to go from machine to machine. They're like, password.
Oh, it's
Like,
horrible.
I'm like, it's inefficient for business. So it takes so much time. It slows everything down. It's annoying as all get out, and we're just bad at it. So I'm like, we have to find another way.
That's yeah, I would agree. I hate it. I Keeper was the greatest thing I ever found because at least I could save passwords and create new ones and not remember them
Yep.
because I'm not going to remember them
Yeah.
ever,
No.
ever. So that's the best you can do, and you can actually have a phone app with it. And you
Yeah.
now it's just my fingerprint now.
Yep. Which is
So
easier, which is better, but
way
still,
better, but it's something
the
Brian, what
concept
do you
is
think?
retarded. Yeah.
What do you think, Brian?
Yep. I'm thinking that at some point we're going to have a breakthrough when it comes to ransomware, because right now ransomware is the cancer of our generation when it comes to IT. It really is. It's in the last 8 or 9 years, from the conception to growth has been exponential. So at some point we have to come up with a solution that we're becoming, instead of being anti-ransomware, there has to be a way, someone's going to come up with a way to actually kill that altogether. Because someone's going to look at this at a completely different perspective when it comes to technology and go, how come we never thought about looking at this problem this way? No, I'm not the guy, but somebody is. And they're going to see it and go, it's probably something so simple that we're completely overlooking it and thinking, no, that would never work. But somebody's going to come up with that to where
Do you think they really want to? Because that eliminates a lot of revenue on other people's areas. Just saying.
Yeah, but it also saves a lot of revenue.
Oh, I agree with that. No, it's good.
Yeah.
You're right. It's good for the end user, but the companies like the takedown vendors that exist because of this would no longer be able to exist in this realm.
Now,
Sure.
but that's innovation, right? Like you
Yep.
have to,
Although,
whenever,
Right.
yeah, it is. It's once ransomware solved, there'll be another innovative problem to solve.
Right. I mean, there's always something, but I'm just saying that, like, to tackle this problem,
Sure.
because people are going to be people, and they're going to always look for a way to, like, break in and steal.
thieves have existed for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. That's not going
It's
to
just
change.
modern
I'm just
thievery.
I'm just referring to ransomware in and of itself.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well, that comes back to basically, is that really a product, or is that a training service provided by people to people? Because you have two problems there. It's something that actually we talked about IT Nation Secure, me and Jay Ryerson and Keith Nelson, about what came first, like the chicken or the egg. So is the focus on a product that saves everything, or is the focus on the people that actually need to be saving everything first? Because that's usually the first mistake,
both.
right?
Yeah.
Like, again, back to my mother. Look how nice that laptop is. She would download anything. The president sent me an email. No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yeah. And that's going to, like, the next 5 years is going to prove a dramatic shift in security culture, because the younger companies we see, we're already seeing the shift happen. So as we have to help protect the older generation just in the common sense aspect, but then the younger generation, it's more second nature. Like my kids know. They know password comply, like, granted we're their parents, but I'm like, they're already cybersecurity savvy. So
right. Oh, I think you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Even some of the newer CEOs that we're dealing with have come to have the attitude when it comes to ransomware. I'm like, I'm going to get hit. We'll figure it out. And let's just move on.
You have to have the plans and processes in place.
Yeah. So they're not as scared of it, I've found, as the 40 and above crew.
Well, I would agree with that, but I also feel like, but you saw this over the last 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years, where small guys think that they're not a target, so they don't care.
Right.
Like, I'm under the radar. Nobody wants to hack me.
You're the easiest.
I don't know if they noticed, but most of the hacking and most of the thievery we see of people taking advantage of people is to elderly people that are not known. How many of them have you watched on the news that have got scammed by somebody showing up at their house? And like, hey, you got to pay for this insurance that never existed, or whatever, So if that doesn't tell you, they look for the people that aren't prepared. It's a stereotype, but it's not. It's based off fact. You look for people that aren't prepared, and you can tell who they are.
Yep.
That's so true. So okay, so now taking us to the most important question of this whole
Sean's favorite.
That's my favorite. What is your love language?
It's too
Brian,
personal, Sean.
I mean, well, we're all.
So they haven't read the book. And we should probably
No, I
preface
have.
it. Okay,
No,
you
I
We have
know.
read the book.
Yeah,
Mary,
I know.
Brian probably read it first and referred it over because I know Brian is like a sucker for this stuff. You're an emotional guy. I think it's
He
sensitive
is.
and sweet. I love it. It's like it's very endearing. It's one
Someone
reason why I
has
like
to feel. He feels.
Yeah, he feels right. Exactly. So, have you guys read the book?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The 5
So,
love languages, right?
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to start with Brian, but I feel like he's going to upstage you.
Oh, he's
Just
always
go,
better than me
Mary.
at this. No, go,
just
babe. Go. Roll.
I would
Do you-
say for me, it would be like acts of service. Or well, actually, I think gift giving and acts of service are important.
Words.
Yeah, words.
So, yeah, I think it would seem like from what you said about the giving part, it's probably. But are you a good receiver though? Because when we talk about the go-giver, that role of receiving, I struggle with.
He's good.
I think if it's something that I've like really wanted, when people like, I will voice something to Mary that I want, and I would just forget about it, and she would do that later. And when I get it, I would be so. I wanted this knife for years, and I told her about it. And my dad, and what was so important to me is my dad promised me he would do this for me, and he never did. And so, like, I told Mary about it, and then like one Christmas, she told her brother, "Can you do this for me?" And so I was like, "What is that?" And I opened it up. It was something I wanted since I was like 7 years old because my dad had it in his truck, and Mary gave that to me. I lost it, absolutely just lost it. And like she would, for me, that's what she does. She finds things I know I've deeply wanted, and she would just do that. I'm a hot mess for a good minute or two, because of just, yeah, no, I have no problem. I am the crier in the family, and I'm okay with that. So
I
yeah.
don't think we would have known that at this point. I mean,
thank you, Sean.
but that's awesome. So no, that's awesome. Acts of service. That's you then.
So
at that point, you're not going to cry now, are you? You're not going to start.
No, because you're on the show, and like I can't have a vulnerable moment with you because here's the thing: you'll take advantage of it. You'll punch me while I'm down. That's fine. I know that.
No, I would just hug you and hold you and let you know it's okay.
That would be weird for me as well. No,
Sean's a lover too. He's an emotional one.
I am.
You guys, that's why you connected.
That's exactly why. I think you've taken those tests that tell you where you belong: left brain, right brain, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so years ago, I took it, and I spent 9 years in the Army, so I'm a bit abrasive. I know that, and so we took it for this employer I was working for. He became a good friend of mine, and so we sat in a room after like 8 of us took this, and each, depending on what quadrant you're in, depends on like what your your traits are. And he goes, there was only one of you in the room that was the bottom right, which is where most women reside because there's a lot of nurturing and emotions, and it was me. And they all started laughing. I was like, that's right. I cry on a dime. It doesn't matter. Like I listen to commercials. I'm like, oh my God, this is my kids are so embarrassed. I'm like, this is how it works, especially when you have kids when your kids are girls too. There's an identification factor if you're going to really truly be a parent that you got to start to buy into it, and you become it regardless. So yeah, absolutely. So Mary, what is your love language?
Physical touch and quality time. Those are like, I am a toucher. Like it's bad in some cases because I don't care who I'm around. I gotta touch them when I talk to them. I'm like touching their arm, touching their shoulder, and Brian's like, hey. I'm like,
that works so well in the IT space. Let me tell you.
I have fun with it sometimes. It's great.
Go ahead, Tom. Tell her.
Sean likes hugging me because Tom doesn't always like to be hugged. And he found once Sean discovered this from my wife, Sean hugs me a lot.
It was game on. It was game on. Like as soon as I see him, every time, if we're at a conference together, every time I see him, it's a hug. It doesn't matter. I mean,
it's not a hug, it's an embrace.
Like, yeah, it is an embrace. It's like I'm gonna start whispering sweet nothings in your ear while we're wrap one leg around you like a spider monkey, whatever it takes. And Tom's look is always the same because he sees it coming. He goes,
God.
What do I do?
Exactly what he does.
Look away. Look
And
away.
make the bad man stop. I gotta act like I'm not here.
Yep.
Tom knows the train wreck's coming. It's coming in hot too. He's like, oh God, we're gonna have that.
He
moment.
is every time, dude. He looks like that, and it's like the deer in headlight. Like I'm so scared. Oh God.
Yeah, I can thank my wife for making sure Sean was very aware of Tom's need
She
for
so
personal
was.
space.
Yeah.
When I saw them at IT Nation Secure, she waited for this to happen. Like she couldn't wait to see me with him. And like she was just she wasn't like when she saw me walking up and they were together, she like stepped back like to give me
Stop.
room.
She's
She
like, go
That's
in for it,
awesome.
Sean.
She's like, clear the area, here comes Tom.
Coming in for a landing.
And Tom immediately twitched a little and gave the look, and I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Stay
I'm
here.
not much about hugging. I'm like, especially if I'm mad or whatever, I'm like, he knows. I'm like, don't touch me. I just need to handle my business. But and it's only with people that I really care about, like that I touch.
Yes. And that's fair. My girlfriend tells me I flirt with everybody, men and women, because they all get the same love. Like she thinks it's funny because it's not really flirting, but I guess it is in a way. I don't know.
It's love.
It is love. Like I'm happy to see you genuinely,
Yes.
whoever
Yeah.
you are. Until you're really mean to me, then I'm even happier to see you because now I know I annoy you. So now it's kill 'em with kindness. That's
Tom, what's your love language?
I don't know. I'm usually the leave me alone person. So me and my wife have both read the book, and we struggle with it. I know what she needs. That's the important part. I just I make sure she's happy. So
I don't know, Tom. I feel like that's a good question for you.
You quality time person?
Quality time, probably. That's probably a good one.
I would agree with that because if you follow Tom on social, on his personal social, he doesn't even realize. Now that we said this, I realize it. He mostly comments on time spent with people. Like he was just with the BMW crew riding, and he mentions the word time, spending time. He does it all. So apparently, subconsciously, that actually is your
it's
thing.
all the time and experience I have would probably be like that I value things. Time spent with friends, time spent at an event, time spent with my wife when we go somewhere. That's we read in our backyard, we sit on the back porch quietly together for each night, each evening, just doing stuff like that's my thing, I guess. So yeah, time spent. Not gifts. I don't like gifts. I don't want any gifts.
Agreed. That's honestly, no. I think I'm definitely on the words of affirmation are me. I don't really need, and it's only.
You look nice today, Sean.
Thank you, Tom.
That's the banter.
Yes, that's exactly it. I prefer that any day. And even if it's not, doesn't even mean you have to say something nice to me, but the banter, exactly, the engagement is so crucial. Like that's the my girlfriend.
I don't even know you guys, and I know y'all.
Right? Look at that.
Well, you figure the interactions out.
Like we're La Familia. That's what we are now. I knew once.
Yep.
I mean, actually, and Brian definitely is a servant leader because when I met him, he was holding the door open for everybody walking into the restaurant. And I actually made fun of him at that moment. Like I didn't even meet him yet. It's like, you're doing a great job holding that door, buddy.
And we bring this up, though. There's a good takeaway that, the audience listening to this, one of the reasons we bring this up is figuring out the dynamics when people are together. And it can be employees. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your spouse or the person that you do a YouTube videos with and other stuff that me and Sean do together. But understanding the dynamics of the people, because I actually, even with my staff, I know what each one of them likes. I know different things about them because I still want to encourage them. And I know the way they're not all the same. They want different things. It can help with that. It can help with client relationships too. If you understand what the client's looking for, what they want to have. And it's the little things, we had a ticket that got open and I said, hey, I see they're doing something stupid. Call them. Don't reply to the ticket. They're like, really? I see, this particular client, if you do that, notes we have in there because they had a cybersecurity incident, minor, dumb one, but they love the fact that they know we're watching it, made them so much happier. It's like the little things, but I know that particular client, that would make them happy to do it. I know who clicked on it. Don't call the person who clicked on it, call his boss. And boom, it's documented. So but knowing that helps you keep relationship with your clients, keeps relationship with the people around you, and it makes your life easier, honestly.
Well, knowing your audience, right? Knowing your audience does well, and we're trying to give a sales or marketing tip in this case, right? Knowing your audience does a couple of things right away. Tells you how to talk to somebody, to approach them with things they want to hear, so you can actually generate a relationship, generating revenue, or maintain existing relationships to maintain revenue, and generate upselling revenue as well. If you can do both, it just by understanding your audience, you can actually accomplish both.
Serving them.
Right, exactly. But serving them in the way that you need to serve them is the difference.
Yeah, not
Not
your
just
love
serving for the sake of
language.
serving. Correct.
Their love language. I think that's
Exactly.
the biggest benefit. And two, like having a partner, like you have to learn how to read them. You have, when you're a leader, an owner, you have to read your employees. Like it's a life skill that I think is underestimated, being able to see people for who they are and what they want and speak their language instead of demanding that the world speak your language.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well put. So where can we find you guys after this? Physically, I know we have an
LinkedIn.
event coming up, you and I, Mary,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Tom,
Yep.
Yep.
at CompTIA Channel
Channel
Con.
I'll make
Chicago
sure I hug
2020.
you awkwardly with
Yes, Tom.
Sean.
Well,
It's
the
gonna
three of
be
us can do like a group hug.
gonna be a
Tom really likes
big
that.
hug, big bear hug coming.
He'll have hives. He'll walk away with hives from that.
He's gonna be like, oh god, I need a shower.
And we'll make sure down below we'll have a link to your company, so we'll have that.
Yeah.
So it's easy way to see if people interested in contacting and talking to you people, and probably from there you have LinkedIn, I'm assuming.
We have LinkedIn.
Yes.
I have my Instagram because I do post videos on there with cybersecurity and women stuff and just mom life, whatever. It's like real stuff. But LinkedIn, we do webinars once a month that vary on topics, whether it's business, whether it's culture or cybersecurity.
All right. We'll leave links down below to everything. Thank you guys for joining us. Much appreciated.
Bye.
Seriously, thank y'all.